Hey guys, I'm back to do my last February wrap-up video. This time I am going to review my last three books, which were not quite my favorite. I can't say that I really hated any of them necessarily, but it ranges from the meh, it was alright, like okay rating, to just not great. So anything below absolute favorite of the month is here. First, I have Entwined by Heather Dixon, and I finally read this book after just loving the cover for months and months on end. I still love it. It's really pretty. I love all the shiny embellishing here and the pretty dress, and I don't know, I feel like a little girly girl saying that. But Entwined is a fairy tale retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, which is one of my favorite fairy tales. So I was really excited to read this, especially after I read the first few pages. I was kind of going through all of my books, trying to decide what to read next. And this was one of them that really stood out to me in its premise. It is set in a fantasy world where it is very similar to Victorian England, and there are, in the beginning, 11 princesses, and the mother is pregnant with the 12th one, and they're all named after flowers or plants in alphabetical order. The three oldest are really the main characters, especially Azalea, who is the eldest sister. And then next is Bramble and Clover and blah 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 blah, with some really ridiculous names. I just thought in the beginning it seemed really charming to me. It's in this world that has like hints of magic that are kind of hidden, but it's in a realistic-esque Victorian England world. It was just really cute and charming in the beginning, but in the end, I ended up being rather disappointed with it. Obviously, if you know the story of the 12 Dancing Princesses, they disappear at night, and in the morning, their dancing slippers are worn out, so the king wants to find out, where they've been going to dance and how this has been happening. And it's in a magical way and whatever. It's the same thing, except a lot of the girls are really young. The youngest one is a newborn in the beginning, so she doesn't actually do any dancing. It got a little bit boring to me rather quickly, because a lot of it was felt like lather, rinse, repeat. We go out dancing and we get tired and we come back and Dad wants to know what's going on. Repeat, and we go again at night and we come back, and we go and we come back. So that was one part of it. Second is, it felt, I don't know how the best descriptor or adjective to give it except for juvenile. It is a YA book, supposedly, but it really felt like it was actually supposed to be for much younger readers. I know I'm kind of technically older than the YA audience anyway, but really it felt like it was meant more for little girls. It was very juvenile is the best word I can say in the tone and story. So maybe if I was like 8, this would be my favorite. I keep saying, like, in books that I don't like, that, oh, maybe if I was like 14 in the right audience I would like it. This one I feel like I would have to be about 8 years old to really be a favorite. Maybe 10 max. Although it was cute in parts and had a lot of nice moments. The best I can give this is a 2.5 out of 5 stars for Entwined, but the cover is still one of my favorites. Next book I have is The Warrior Heir by Cinda Chima. Actually, a similar story to Entwined. How I got into this was the first chapter, the sort of prologue, I found was really interesting, and then from there, it ended up being a disappointment. I don't know. I should not judge by the beginning of a book necessarily. In this one, there is a boy, Jack, who lives in a modern-day Ohio. It's an urban fantasy kind of a cross between maybe Harry Potter and the Hunger Games, although it was before Hunger Games came out. He finds out that he has like secret magical powers, and there's this long-standing tournament between magical houses that he has to participate in because he is a warrior. And it sounded like a really cool premise in the beginning, and the writing was actually really good. It was really well written, I have to say. Just my main problem with it was after the beginning. So aside from the very beginning and the end, the middle of it, the majority of the book was just a lot of exposition. A lot of explaining to Jack, like, the history of all the different magical people, like the warriors, the wizards, the sorcerers, the soothsayers, the enchanters, all those various, I don't know if I'm saying them all right, but all of those things, and, you know, Jack training to fight in the tournament, or to technically not fight in the tournament, training to defend himself so he wouldn't have to go fight in the tournament, and the education part and all of that. And it just dragged on and on. Even though it was well written, it was a well written, draggy stuff. So then it picked up at the end. It was really cool at the ending part, but honestly, that middle really killed any chances of this becoming a favorite for me. So it is only a 3 out of 5 stars for The Warrior Heir. It would be lower, but the beginning and ending saved it from getting a lower rating for me. My last book I have is Crossed by Condy. And this one, I knew going in that I was probably not going to like it because I had read Matched and I was thoroughly disappointed by that. But I love the cover for Matched. I know it's a stupid reason. And also the hype. I read it before I really read any negative reviews on it. I just heard, oh, it's, if you like Hunger Games, try this next. And I'm like, okay. Probably not such an intelligent decision to make, but I also thought when I browsed in it at the bookstore, it seemed interesting. It's a really pretty cover, and I like the cover for this one too. It's really simple. There's nothing too busy, and it's a nice color scheme and a great design that's actually very symbolic of what's going on in the book. So the cover actually has relevance to the book. It's wow, like, that's really surprising because it seems like most book covers is just a random design, like someone's big face on the cover or something stupid like that has nothing to do with the book, and usually it's ugly too. So I'm kind of sad that such a mediocre series has such care put into the covers, but maybe not necessarily into the actual stories themselves. But I digress here. Cross continues the story of Cassia. I just learned that's how you're supposed to pronounce the main character's name. I thought it was Cassia because I had a best friend growing up whose name was written the same way but pronounced Cassia. Apparently that's an alternate pronunciation, but Cassia is the real one. And she, in this one, is trying to find her way back to Kai, and in a change there are dual narratives, one with her and one from Kai's point of view, and they alternate. They're both trying to escape from their like work situations and find their way back to each other in like the canyons in Utah is what it seems to be like, although it doesn't say Utah. I think it says that in the about the author blurb. I'm not going to give away too much about the story itself, but it is, a lot of it is really boring. There's so much poetry that, you know, the characters love to read poetry, especially Tennyson, and it's symbolic of the society and the rising, which is the secret rebellion against the society that's going on. And also Cassia and Kai apparently want to write poems or something to each other too, and I really don't care for poetry in my books. I just feel like it usually ends up sounding cheesy and stupid, and this was no exception. I'm like, that's dumb. The Condy is really just not that good of an author, I feel like, in terms of her characters and her plots and everything. She had a good idea, but then actually writing that idea did not go so well. Kasha and Kai's point of view, if I had to keep checking to see which chapter it was, because they were really, they had kind of the same voice a lot of the times. I'm like, who is speaking here? They're thinking the same kind of thing, even though they had some differences that Kasha supposedly really wanted to become a part of the Rising and rebel against the society, and Kai did not. That's about it. Other than that, I kept forgetting. I'm like, wait, whose chapter was this again? Also, the same problem with Kai and Xander from their first book. I found out that Kai and Xander, who are the two love triangle guys, were both based on Condy's husband. Okay. That's not really a good idea to base two characters on the same person, especially when they're supposed to be rivals in this love triangle, even though they're friends too and crap. There's basically they seem like the same person. Who cares who she chooses? There's no difference between them anyway. Really, it just seems like Kasha only came to prefer Kai because it was against the rules and because she wanted to start to rebel against the society and crap like that. Because honestly, I don't see the point. They're really, aside from the name and maybe their looks, I don't remember what they're supposed to look like. They seem like the same guy. So yeah, in this one, Kasha seems like she loves Kai, but she keeps remembering Xander, and they have a tender meeting together near the beginning and crap, and it seems like, you know, the love triangle is only just getting started, and now there's another girl, and there might be a love square and crap. And another thing that I didn't like was it was boring. The majority of the book was something I really hate, is long books about characters traveling and nothing really happening but describing their journey. That is a pet peeve of mine in books. From some of my very most hated books last year, that was the majority of the book, was traveling. And it's this way again, in Crossed, and I really did not like it, so to speak. Again, towards the end, some interesting moments did come up. There were a few things that I don't want to spoil, that I'm like, oh, okay, now it's starting to pick up, but then it was so close towards the end of the book, and the book ended anyway, and I don't know. I can't say this is like one of my most seething, I hate this book, it's so horrible, but it really was not that good. And because I had a little bit more expectations of it, because it could have been better as a sequel, it could have led up to more. I feel like I'm going to give this only a 2 out of 5 stars instead of a 2.5, which I might have given it. But I feel like, honestly, she should have improved after writing her first novel, and she really didn't. If anything, it was more boring than the first one. Anyway, that wraps up my least favorites of February video. I will hopefully see you guys again soon, maybe the next time I read something. Bye bye.